Hi, I'm here today with Melissa Davey, who will be the keynote storyteller at the Third Act Quest Stories live event in October 21 and 22. So I'm excited to share a little bit about and have Melissa share a little bit about her. She's an award-winning filmmaker, director. She created a feature-length documentary titled Beyond 60, and she has just finished shooting her second film called Climbing into Life. Melissa has an incredibly inspiring story of following her passion and her dream and taking a leap of faith from a corporate career to make this film. So we're excited to have you, and thank you, Melissa, for being here today. How are things going? You're back from
Good.
filming, and
Yes.
so
I'm back in the chair of trying to figure out how to put this thing together. So, yeah, pretty exciting.
It's a really exciting process. So, what I would love to ask you to share with us today in this time together is a little bit about, at a stage in our lives, for many of us, it's in our 50s or 60s, we start to really re-examine and think about, what our hearts are calling us to do. However, sometimes it takes a disruption or some sort of an aha moment to kick us into that path. So tell me a little bit about your aha moment.
Yeah, it was a big aha moment. And, I'm almost 72 years old. And so and I say this because I'm going to preface myself back to when I was 65, sitting in a big corporate job that I'd been in for decades. And, really starting to look at the clock and think about my age and, what am I going to do? And there was no push within my company to leave. But there was an incident that came up that made me think about it more. And that was we were being bought out again by private equity. And it was like, was I going to sign up for another 5 years? And that's when I really sat there thinking, is this where I'm going to end my life? And it was a joke around the office that I didn't want to die at my desk. I would always say that.
Wow.
And I think I really meant it, even though I was, joking. So I started really thinking about what is it that I haven't done, because who knows how much time I have left. And, so I made a mental list, and filmmaking was on the list, not because I had any experience, but because I was extremely interested in filmmaking and what the process would be like. And I love films, and I always have. So I've been curious about it forever. So I made this list along with other things like playing the saxophone. And again, I don't read music, so I kind of crossed that off the list. And then while this was happening, a very strange thing happened in that I ended up winning a day on the set with M. Night Shyamalan, who's a very famous director of kind of creepy films. And he lives near me in Pennsylvania. And I happened upon him filming in our county. I was with a friend, and she said, I come up here every day. I think somebody's making a film. So I figured out it was him, looked on his website. There was something there called Charity Buzz, pushed the button, and it said, win a day on the set. So I was, socking money into it, thinking that this would be awesome. Just what a fun experience it would be. And so, but all of the money would go to his education foundation. So I kind of felt less guilty about putting money out there for something as frivolous as a day on the set. So anyway, I won. That's the short story. And I was on the set with him for more than 8 hours one day. And when I say that, I mean, he was so welcoming and brought me behind the camera and asked me what I saw and why he was doing what he was doing. And it was amazing. I mean, I was just blown away. And then at lunch, this is the aha. At lunch, we're chatting, and he said, what do you do for work? And I was trying to explain this corporate job with, Social Security and risk management to this guy who had always been a filmmaker. And he looked at me really curiously, and he just said, well, what do you really want to do? And I said, I want your job. And he said, well, you better hurry up. So that was it. That was like a, 10-second little short conversation that was off the cuff, probably a joke on his end. And it hit me like I felt it in my core.
I was going to say that's also probably, he was probably mimicking your inner voice at that time.
Absolutely.
Oh,
So I knew at that moment that I should take whatever dreams I had very seriously, because why not? And he was right about, he knew at that point I was 65. So he knew that, well, if she's going to do something like that, she better hurry up. And he was absolutely right. So the next day I made the decision to,
you did the next day. Now, see,
yeah,
that to me,
yeah,
that to me is this divine sort of connection with that question that
right.
was already inside of you. So, these ahas are some, I have to say that you need to be aware of the feeling, but
Yes.
acting on it is where it takes a little bit of a leap of faith. So
Yes.
how did that feel? I'm just
It
very
it
curious.
it felt so exciting, like a release, like, oh my God, of course this is what I'm going to do. Why wouldn't I? If I really want to do something, and in this case it was making a film, why wouldn't I try it right now? At this point in my life, at 65, then it was like, this is your only chance. I can't say, well, I'll wait till 80 until I figure it out, because you don't know if you have that time.
Yeah.
So, it was an awakening. It was a wonderful feeling. And
Mm.
I knew that I wouldn't just quit my job the next day. I would certainly give notice, and I would plan what I was going to do to make this happen. So that's exactly what happened.
Oh, that's beautiful. So as you made this decision and you gave your notice and you made your transition, then the next thing was, and that's why I love the title of your film, is sort of like your homage to Beyond 60, what is
Right.
possible. So it sounds like you not only got to live your dream, but you also wanted to help give other people the inspiration to live theirs.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly. And I mean, when you make this flippant, what some people would call flippant anyway, I did hear that word once in a while, decision to all of a sudden become a filmmaker, it's like, well, what's the film going to be about?
mhm.
And what, to me, it was, well, the most logical thing would to do something that related to me, that I understood, that I already knew. So I thought, I was thinking about myself and my age, and how invisible people my age become, and how their stories are not readily available in film. You rarely see a story about an older woman compared to younger women. So, I really sat there for a minute and thought, well, why wouldn't I talk about that? That's partially my story. I can learn how to tell my story better. And in the meantime, I will be working with women all around the country to help them tell their stories. So that's how Beyond 60 came about. It was, let's go find all those women that are still relevant. They should not be invisible. They have terrific stories to tell. They're continuing to do wonderful things, and let's get them out there. Start a trend.
So without getting into what could be a lot of reasons, what do you think is the core thread that each of the women that you met that you wanted to share their story? And in Beyond 60, I think there were like how many, 7 or 8 women?
9.
9 women.
Yeah.
It must have been hard to choose, but what's the thread that each of them possessed? Fearlessness, what's the thread?
It's resilience.
Yeah.
They all have this incredible resilience. They've all had major hardships, like we all have, whether it be, death, divorce, illness, whatever, maybe compounded 5 times throughout their life story. They had this incredible resilience to keep going and to say, what's my next step? My story isn't finished yet. I'm not
Mm.
going to be invisible. And, it was the resilience factor. They all had it, every one of them.
That's beautiful. So I'm thrilled that you will be kicking off our third annual storytelling event yourself to share your story and a little bit more about the stories you're telling, both in Beyond 60 and your new film that you're you're just editing the trailer now. So I can't wait. By the time we get to October, we'll be a lot more aware of that. So in closing, before we say goodbye, I ask this question of women that I interview that are the storytellers, and that is, if you were asked to create a bumper sticker that encapsulates your philosophy about life, what would that be?
Live a great story.
Love it. Thank you, Melissa. And if you're listening in, please join us on October 21. Melissa will be kicking off the first evening, and have a beautiful day, Melissa. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.